I don't like football, but the Bluelock anime hits different. When I was a child, one of my first animes was a show called Inazuma 11, and I couldn't get enough of it. I watched the anime, I read some of the manga, and I even played the games. But after watching Bluelock, I finally realized Inazuma 11 is for boys, and Bluelock is for men. It is the type of anime to make literally anything interesting. They have this concept of turning 0 into 1. I have no clue what that means, but I'm interested. Pass the goddamn ball. Football's a team game, you c***. And then there's these two. This guy only communicates through expressions that only his brother can understand. Why? Because it's Bluelock. The basic story of Bluelock is that Japan is tired of taking L's, just like a Boruto fan. So Japan comes up with a plan to find the ultimate striker. They gather the best youngest strikers with the most potential and put them against each other in a sort of battle royale. And if you're eliminated, you will never become a professional football player in Japan. By the way, spoilers for season 1 of the Bluelock anime. The first thing I want to talk about is ego. Not the character ego, but the concept of ego. A person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. That is the definition of ego. But Bluelock takes it one step further. Not only do you have to think you are the best, you now have to prove it. By being put around so many egoists, we find out who are the pretenders and who are the true strikers, who are the losers and who are the winners. And nothing proves this more than the very first episode. The moment that made us all egoists and more addicted to Bluelock than the common crack it is to drugs. They are told to play a game where the last person to touch the ball is eliminated from Bluelock. They start playing the minigame, but eventually our main character Izuki gets hit with the ball. Izuki starts to panic, time is running out and he needs to hit somebody with the ball. But luckily, the guy he was chasing gets injured, so it'll be easy to stay in Bluelock. Now all he has to do is shoot at the injured player, but he doesn't. Against all common sense, against all logic, he decides to try and hit the ball against somebody stronger than himself. And this attracts somebody else's ego, Bachelor. They work together to try and take on the strongest striker in the minigame, and they succeed. But the reason why this is so crazy is because it goes against the basic instinct that is self-preservation. If you steal a cookie and somebody asks you, did you steal that cookie? You're going to lie to preserve yourself so you don't get in trouble. But it's different with Izuki. All he had to do was hit the injured player to preserve himself, but instead decides to risk years of training and the fact that he will never become a pro in Japan for almost no reason. We're gonna watch that back and there'll be an ego counter for every single time Izuki and Bachira's ego beats their self-preservation. Izuki chooses to go after the stronger player instead of the injured one. Bachira does the unthinkable and takes the ball off Izuki. Bachira then passes to Izuki instead of taking a shot at anyone. And then finally, Asagi doesn't dodge the ball to eliminate Bachira. He takes the shot not knowing if it will hit. For every point on the ego counter, they risk years of training and the dream of ever becoming a pro. There are many other great ego moments throughout the show, but personally, I believe that scene shows ego at its truest form. The next thing I love about this show is the characters. Every single character feels like a main character. Maybe not him. Most of the characters have interesting backstories and reasons for wanting to become the best striker. Like this guy. The son of Elon Musk is tired of getting everything he wants, so he decides to try and earn something without his parents' help. And that leads him to finding football and loving it. Or Bachira, who was more lonely and mentally ill than the average My Hero Academia fan. His love of football and him being lonely has literally made him see monsters. And because every character feels like a main character, you don't know who's gonna be eliminated. This guy had an amazing backstory. Before he was at Bluelock, he was trying to become pro, but no one on his team was taking it seriously. So he ends up saying no more Mr. Nice Guy and betrays the team. But he gets eliminated off screen and is never seen again. That's what I'm talking about. It feels like anyone can be eliminated. No one is safe. Not only are their backstories interesting and unique, the characters themselves are. Like, look at these guys. Damn nigga, that's some crazy eyebrows. We have Ichigo Kurosaki and some guy who both looks and sounds like Sea-Dog VA.
I've got no interest in male bodies.
The character development in this show is amazing. Isagi goes from being a pussy to a Chad. This guy goes from being a Chad to a pussy to a Chad. Enough of the memes, but this character called Nagi goes from not liking the sport, not even trying, to loving the sport with every fiber of his being. The fear of losing changes his whole personality, from a lazy genius to the hard-working god of the field. Now let's talk about beating expectations. By episode 10, I thought I knew the formula of Bluelock. Somebody gets a power up, Isugi stops it and then gets a power up himself. But nearing the end of the season, the expectations fly out the window. You don't know what's gonna happen next. Bachira gets a power up and he's about to score, and just like usual, Isagi saves it. But this time, it breaks the formula, and this time Isagi loses, and it's a shock to everyone. This is why Bluelock is so good. It tricks you into having a false sense of security, and then kicks you in the balls. Like that one scene where everybody is waiting for Ichigo, and then some random nigga comes out, and everyone's like, who the fuck is that guy? So he tries to fly kick Isugi like he's Sanji from One Piece. I used to think Bluelock was predictable, but now I know I was falling for their trap. We have talked about a few positives for the show, now it's time to talk about a few negatives. You guys know where I'm going with this. The animation. I am not one of those dumb fucks who think that anime should have as much detail as the manga, but the animation is more inconsistent than fits his upload schedule. Like one scene we get the most heavenly animation known to man, and then the next Barrow is doing ballet and holding the Chad position for about 3 seconds. Not to mention the absolutely shocking CGI animation that makes me burst out laughing. Like look at this nigga, he's holding Nagi like he's gonna take him out to dinner. Even though I was shitting on the animation, whenever Isagi turns into a 100-piece CGI puzzle, it goes hard. But to be honest, for me personally, animation was never a top priority. Like I've watched the entirety of One Piece, and before the Wano arc, it was crazy. But enough about bad animation, let's talk about cringe dialogue. I mean, the dialogue is pretty hit or miss for me. Sometimes the dialogue is absolutely golden, like that one scene where Ichigo tells Ryo to not look down, to look at the winners leave. That scene got me hype as fuck, dialogue alone. But then other times Isagi's talking about how he wants to devour a man, and also dominate him. But that's just how Bluelock is, and I don't mind it. In fact, I enjoy it sometimes. I mean, from episode 1, the show's always been exaggerated and edgy. Niggas literally get swirly eyes whenever they're feeling themselves. If everything in the show wasn't exaggerated, then the show would probably be boring as hell. Imagine if Isugi said, I'm going to become a better football player than you, instead of, I'm going to devour you. It just wouldn't hit the same. So even though the dialogue might be cringy at times, I think it's necessary. Oh yeah, and the stuff I hear you saying about Shido and Chicory, I know what you are. I think it's about time to give my final thoughts on the Bluelock anime. I can't lie, I was scraping for negatives. The show's just honestly pretty good. The show does its job perfectly. It's entertaining. There was not one episode where I was bored. Other than it giving me Berserk 2016 flashbacks sometimes, it's just solid. Getting a 10 out of me is impossible. Only one show has ever done that. I'm gonna have to give season 1 of Bluelock an 8 out of 10. The show has hardly any problems, but there are still problems. And shout out the underrated Go Ego. Whenever he gives a speech, it's fire. Season 2 of Bluelock has been announced, and I'm hype. I know this is different to my usual videos, but make sure to like and subscribe if you want more. If you don't, then I will devour you.